What's going on, guys? Seth Ward here, and today I am back with another college football prediction video. And today I'm going to be talking about the North Carolina Tar Heels versus the South Carolina Gamecocks. And this is a rivalry game. They don't have a name for this game, so I'm most likely going to call it the Battle of the Carolinas. Pretty much North Carolina versus South Carolina. South Carolina in the SEC, North Carolina in the ACC. The last meeting was in a bowl game 2 years ago. It was just that season. UNC was 6-7. Not a fun season to watch. It was not great. They ended up losing that game pretty badly. Even though the first game they met, when Mac Brown's first year, that game was crazy. UNC won, even though Sam Howell kneeled on fourth down, and of course South Carolina could have won. But that year they were not that great, and they fired their head coach after that, pretty much. And South Carolina won 38-21, all-time series. UNC leads 35-4, or 35 wins, 20 losses, and 4 ties. How do you get 4 ties? I don't know. But yeah, this game will be played on September 2nd of 2023. And yes, I am a UNC fan, and I am also an Appalachian State supporter as well. So, therefore, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. This is like a presentation type thing, but it's also a college football prediction video. So if you guys like this, if you want me to do more of this, please comment down below. That'd be cool just to do this more often. And so yeah, all right. Okay, so the location will be at the Bank of America Stadium, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that is the Carolina Panthers stadium for the NFL. And so it's going to be a neutral site, and there you have a picture of the stadium. All right, so we are now going through the coaches. So Mac Brown and Shane Beamer. Shane Beamer, who previously was the assistant head coach at Oklahoma at the time, and then left for South Carolina when Lincoln Riley basically ditched Oklahoma and then went to USC. So currently, he's actually done a pretty decent job at South Carolina, going 15-11. And of course, Mac Brown, who came back to UNC it's already been 5 years, which is just crazy. So UNC has been struggling when they fired Larry Fedora, and Mac Brown brought the hype back, but kind of been on a rocky road a little bit here and there, trying to filter out players. Though this could be maybe his last 2 seasons with UNC. But last year, they started out great, and then like the last 4 games, they kind of struggled, but they did win the ACC Coastal. So Mac Brown has been at a lot of teams. I coached at App State 1 year, then UNC when they were actually really good. He won like 10-win seasons, multiple seasons, so they were really, really good. Then he left. I think he left for Tulane. No, he went to Tulane before UNC, I think, and then he went to UNC, and then he went to Texas, and of course he won with Vince Young to beat USC with a BCS National Championship back in like 2005, I think, somewhere around there. Okay, so the last season, North Carolina went 9-5, like I just said earlier, 62 in the conference, first in the Coastal, and of course they won the last ever Coastal Division, because the ACC is moving on from divisions to finally just having one whole conference instead of having 2 divisions, which, I mean, I did like the divisions, but the Coastal versus the Atlantic was always better than the Coastal, so not great at all. All right, so key wins was Pitt won 42-24, Wake Forest 36-34, and that pretty much sealed the deal to win the Coastal for last year. South Carolina shocked me, shocked everybody this year. And of course, you guys know that the last few games, they somehow just went off and just shocked everybody. They went 8-5 and 4-4 in the conference, 3rd in the East. Pretty much shocked everybody because they didn't know how well Shane Beamer was going to be this year with his second season with South Carolina. They beat 13th-ranked Kentucky 24-14. They beat Tennessee, who's ranked 5th at the time, when they beat Alabama. They just destroyed Tennessee, which that shocked me when Tennessee beat Alabama. I think that following week when they beat Alabama. So yeah, that was crazy. And then of course, first time in a long time, they beat Clemson, who was ranked 8th, but DJ Uiagalelei was not that great. So they struggled with that whole season last year because they couldn't really figure out who the quarterback was. But yeah, Spencer Rattler had a great season, 31-30. Though I know SEC fans always want to go to the national championship. That's what their expectations are. But that is what South Carolina is currently with the SEC. 8-5, maybe 10 wins, in my opinion. So yeah. So as we just went over the coaches and location and stuff like that, we're going to be talking about the NFL draft, which is North Carolina, and players leaving. And I think this is the correct players who are leaving. Josh Downs, who was a big part of our offense, and of course Phil Longo is no longer there. He is with he's OC. He's with the Wisconsin now. Josh Downs was a beast. Could be a top first round draft pick, maybe or late round first round draft pick, and of course early round second round draft pick. And of course offensive tackle Sim Richards, Antoine Green, who's also a really good receiver. He's going pro. Noah Taylor and Raymond Vosek is also going to the NFL draft. All right, so for South Carolina, we have Cam Smith, who is going to be a beast. And of course, we have Darius Rush, who's also going to be a beast. South Carolina always produces pretty good cornerbacks like J.C. Horn and now Cam Smith. So that's going to be, Cam Smith is going to be a good player. And of course, possibly Darius Rush as well. Zach Pickens, gone. Javon Gwynn is also gone. Jalen Brooks, Eric Douglas, Josh Van, Dylan Wonin is also gone. If I pronounce these last name wrong, I'm sorry. So yeah, forgive me if I pronounce these last name wrong. Okay, so the roster news. This is like the transfer portal, players going in or players going out. So this is the roster news for UNC. We have the defensive end, Keyshawn Silver, who's a 5-star player, Tony Grimes, Cam Kelly, Storm Duck, Jacoby Criswell, Kendall Carr, Justin Olson, and Jaleel Taylor. Storm Duck and Tony Grimes, I was disappointed in them last year in the past 2 to 3 years. Our defense was just not our defense, but UNC's defense was atrocious the past 3 years. I mean, the secondary was one of the worst secondaries in college football, almost ranked dead last. But thankfully for Drake May or the UNC's offense bailing us out all the time, and it could have been a lot worse without Sam Howell and currently Drake May as well. Keyshawn Silver, I was a little bummed about him leaving, but he went to Kentucky. And of course, Tony Grimes, I figured he'd leave after Dre Bly was let go of the team, who was the defensive coordinator or defensive backs head coach, basically. So yeah, hopefully, possibly, UNC's defense will get a lot better this year. All right, so for transferring in, UNC, Amari Gaynor, Florida State, 4-star. Nick McCullen, Georgia Tech, who will probably be one of our starting wide receivers this year, currently 4-star. And Devontae Walker, this is a guy also who I'm excited for as a UNC fan, who from Kent State, who had like a 900 yards and 11 touchdowns, pretty good. Derek Allen, 4-star, Georgia Tech. Elijah Husey from East Tennessee State, 4-star, who's a DB. Ryan Coe, a kicker from Cincinnati, a 3-star. Armani Chapman from Virginia Tech, 3-star. And Antavius Lane from Georgia Tech, 3-star. And Willie Lampkin from Coastal Carolina, who's also a 3-star. All right, so for South Carolina, we have Jordan Birch, who was one of their best players. Honestly, I think that maybe South Carolina fans were shocked that he was transferring out. So he's a defensive edge. He goes to Oregon, 5-star. I think he was a good player, but I could be wrong because I didn't really pay attention too much to South Carolina because I was focused on UNC pretty much. All right, so Marshawn Lloyd goes to USC, 4-star. Jaheim Bell goes to Florida State, 4-star. Austin Stogner goes to Oklahoma, a 4-star. Rodriguez, I believe that's how you pronounce his first name. Could be totally wrong. Undecided, a 4-star. A wide receiver, Corey Rucker goes to Arkansas State, 3-star. R.J. Roderick goes to Liberty, 3-star. Gilbert Edmond goes to Florida State, 3-star. And of course, lastly, Rashad Amos goes to Miami, Ohio, 3-star. And of course, not really that many players transferred into South Carolina because I think that South Carolina, regardless, is going to have a lot of guys back. So Jaron Willis from Ole Miss, I think, is going to be a key guy coming in. And of course, Trey Knox from Arkansas, who's 4-star, and they're both 4-stars. And of course, Nick Elksnis from Florida, who's a 4-star. And, of course, Eddie Lewis from Memphis is a 3-star wide receiver, tight end, wide receiver, linebacker. So I think these guys are definitely going to help contribute for South Carolina. But I think South Carolina is also going to get a good recruiting class for this year. All right, so the top 3 players, which I'd like to do on offense and, of course, on defense, with the offense, with the QB, running back, wide receiver, and, of course, for defense, the defensive back, linebacker, and, of course, defensive tackle or defensive edge. I'll pick the best 3 players who are currently going to be on the starting lineup or the roster, as you say. So, yeah, UNC, Drake May, this man was just incredible last year. Though the last 4 games didn't really do so well, Drake May went 300 for 42, 517 completions to percentage, 66% completion percentage, 4,321 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Running back, freshman Omarion Hampton. I'm excited for this kid. I think he's going to be the starting running back. I think Mac Brown did say he may be the starting running back for this upcoming season. Had 88 carries, 401 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And of course, the transfer from Kent State, Devontae Walker, had 58 receptions, 921 yards. Wait, did I say 921 or 900 yards? I think it was 900 yards. But anyways, had 11 touchdowns, 15.9 yards average of catch. So him and that Georgia Tech transfer for wide receivers are going to definitely fill in for Antoine Green and Josh Downs. So hopefully with the new OC, with Drake May, I think that they may do well with the different offense for this upcoming season. All right, so for South Carolina's top 3 offensive players, Spencer Rattler has had a great season this year. Shocked a lot of people because a lot of people were skeptical of Spencer Rattler because of the issues with Oklahoma and, of course, the fans chanting in the stadium, wanting him gone after that. His second season not doing so well. His first season he did really well, in my opinion. But he's also another considerable draft pick in the top 15 in my opinion, I guess, or not my opinion, but the draft stock for next year's draft class. So Spencer Rattler also had a great season this past season, shocking a lot of people that had or were skeptics of him. All right, he went 264, 399 completions to attempts, 66.2 completion percentage, 3,226 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Running backs, sophomore Juju McDowell, I believe he is going to be the starter, and I believe that there's 2 other players transfer out for South Carolina. He had 62 carries, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns for South Carolina. Wide receiver, I think it's Antoine. If I pronounce the first name wrong, I'm sorry, South Carolina fans. I believe it's Antoine Wells Jr. Stats, 68 receptions, 928 reception yards, 6 touchdowns, and 13.6 yards of average of catch. So pretty good for Antoine or for South Carolina and Spencer Rattler for him. All right, so the top 3 defensive players, we have junior Cedric Gray, who I'm glad he's coming back. He is a beast, a linebacker. He had 2 interceptions. 2 of them were key interceptions. One against Duke, I believe. I can't remember which one other it was, but he had some key interceptions that pretty much helped our team win. So he had 144 total tackles, 82 solo, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumbles recovery, and of course 2 interceptions. So I believe he's back with the team. So that's huge for UNC. Defensive back, we have sophomore DeAndre Boykins, who's going to be a junior this year. He's also one of the key players who's done well with UNC. 67 total tackles, 48 solo, 1 interception, and of course 7 pass deflections, which is pretty good. All right, defensive tackle, junior Kevin Hester. He's also done pretty good. So stats, 49 total tackles, and of course 17 solo tackles for Kevin Hester. All right, so the top 3 players for South Carolina, we have freshman Nick Immanwori. He actually had a really good season this year. South Carolina always produces really good cornerbacks, so he's probably going to be like the next one to go in the draft class in the near future. He had 85 total tackles, 62 solo, and 1 fumble recovery. I keep saying forced fumbles. It's fumble recovery. But anyways, so linebacker, we have sophomore Debo Williams, who's also done a really good job with South Carolina. He'll probably be the main starter for this upcoming season with 43 total tackles, 27 solo, and 2 sacks. All right, so defensive tackle junior Tonka Hemingway also had 33 tackles, 19 solo, and 4 sacks and 2 fumble recoveries. Okay, so for team stats, we have UNC's for yards per game, we have 462.8. We have passing yards, 309.3. We have rushing yards, 153.5. We have points per game, 34.4. All right, so for South Carolina, we have yards per game, 378.8. Passing yards, 260 yards. Rushing, we have 118.8 yards of rushing. And of course, points per game, we have 32.2. So honestly, not far off from UNC on offensively. Defensively, man, oh man, as a UNC fan, it's just it was brutal watching this team last year because it was so high scoring, where every game was a high scoring game by a touchdown or a field goal because our defense could never close out games. Though some games they've actually played decently well, but like it was just atrocious just watching the secondary get depleted every single game. And it was just bad, really bad. If you're a UNC fan, if you're a fan in general, and you watch UNC, you'll know why. All right, yards allowed, 438.2 yards allowed. Yards of passing, 276, not great. Yards of rushing, 161.8. And, of course, allowed points per allowed per game, 31.0. So pretty bad. And that's why you see all those transfers out, or transfers that transfer out in the portal. All right, South Carolina, we have yards allowed per game, 391.9. They've also kind of struggled, but especially in the SEC. Passing yards allowed, 199.5. Yards rushing allowed, 192.4. So pretty much similar to UNC, but the rushing yards allowed, that's bad. That is not good. But yeah, points allowed per game, 27.5. All right, so my final prediction of this video, I think that, honestly, I don't really know who's going to win this game. I really love UNC. I know I don't want to make this video biased towards UNC. I really hope they'll beat South Carolina, but I think that with UNC's defense, I think that South Carolina is potentially probably going to win this game by -3, but anything can happen in this game because it's the first game ever. You don't know whose defenses are good, whose offenses maybe not good as well. I think maybe possibly South Carolina has the better defense, but UNC also has a better offense. In my opinion, could be, but I could be totally wrong. I'm no expert. I just want you guys to comment down below who you guys think this game, who's going to win this game. But I think that possibly South Carolina has the edge because the defense, I'm always skeptical about UNC's defense because they've struggled for the past 4 years. They've been the same defense with horrible secondary, but hopefully everything can change after this year, and hopefully that possibly UNC could win against South Carolina in this game. So let me know what you guys think, who's going to win this game. I love UNC. I hope Mac Brown has a great season this year, and of course Drake May also to have another awesome epic season. All right, guys, Step 42 here. Hope you all have a great day, and see you guys later. Peace out.